This is an extravagant collection of orchids, and probably the premier collection of orchids in Guatemala, which all of these, except for some very particular ones, are prohibited from being removed from the country. Orchids are interesting because, to illustrate here, they create a flower only once a year, and they come in families. For example, if I look over here, this one here is probably the earliest one, the grandpapa of them all. And each year, the succeeding one creates the next bulb, and from that comes one or two flowers. And then the array of flowers is incredible. Now here we see yellow flower, here the magenta colors. Here you see the threads coming down with different small orchids on them. Some have numerous, while these others normally tend to have, like the one there, normally tend to have just one or two flowers each year. You water them twice, 3 times a year, and they create the next generation. Prior generations never again will flower. They basically are only reservoirs of water and the genetics of the next year's bulb, if you will. Now, I'm sure this is somewhat of an oversimplification, because as you look at these orchids, in particular this one with all of the leaves, does each leaf represent a bulb? And then if that's the case, then the theory falls apart. So I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it. You can see the incredible diversity of these. I think what's interesting to look at is that, or to recognize that we're only looking at orchids here. When you think of a jungle, and you think, as they say in the tropical rainforest, the tremendous diversity, when you realize the tremendous diversity of orchids looking at what's inside this one building, and that's not including the area outside, and realize that these are only orchids. How many other forms of plants are there? Hundreds, if not thousands, of varieties that are very distinct. The bulbs are different, the leaves are often different, the flowers are different, the stems of the flowers are different, the configurations. For example, look at all the little flowers that occur on this one. Very novel. These are little microcosms, or chunks, if you will, of a rainforest. And you can imagine hunting through the rainforest as a knowledgeable person and finding these different things. You can imagine being a biologist, looking for new kinds of plants. It's not hard to imagine, as this man has done, that you could spend your entire life learning about just one kind of plant, or one kind of animal, or one kind of ecosystem. Look at the long, whatever these would be called right here, that string up like tall snakes, just a total another configuration. And I think what this epitomizes too is the incredible diversity that nature has in its survival techniques. And we're just wandering through this thing now just for the fun of seeing something and recognizing that it epitomizes, or is a splendid example of what's thrown out by teachers as biodiversity. This is it. You're looking at biodiversity, except that it's a very specific collection. And here you'll see something that's the device for pollinating these, perhaps, and it looks like a fly, and not the blue bottle fly that we sometimes think is a garbage fly, but a green one. I'm just going to shoot things that look kind of interesting to me, and you can either enjoy it or don't. This looks like a bunch of chili peppers up here. Almost looks like some artist's painting that doesn't look real. And look at how it almost seems to be a colored butterfly on there. Does that provide some pollination lure, if you will? that as a teacher you talk about biodiversity,
Yeah.
but I've never seen it.
Oh, in biodiversity, you have it in orchids galore.
That's my point. That's
Because let's say the orchids are the. Here you have another kind. 6 months of drought in their climate, from November to May. So they have to be equipped completely to.
So many of these orchids function in totally different environmental situations.
They are here together because I put them together. We have here all the orchids from Guatemala. This is a rescue center here. That's not a green, let's say, not a production center anymore. We are a rescue center for the whole of Guatemala. When I go through here.
So when you say rescue, not only to save orchids in general, but is this also a place where those that are at risk of extinction?
Yes.
Do you also search in the rainforest for those that have not yet been discovered?
Absolutely true. We found last 2 years 42 new species for Guatemala.
When scientists say that by tearing down the rainforest you destroy innumerable species that we've never even discovered,
yes,
and they say this in phenomenal numbers, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I've lived all my life, adult life in primeval forests. I'm 81 years old. I saw the forest still in their virgin beauty, and that's being destroyed. Yes. An eminent botanist from Kew Gardens. This place is a member of Kew Gardens. Comes every second year, a Dr. Henry Oakley. He comes every second year to check on our inventories to see if he finds something new. We know that certain orchids are new to us, but we are not certain.
Do you have any evidence that the attributes, the chemicals that you were talking about that these orchids use are useful to man?
I don't know. In orchids, there's not much useful for man. Okay. The only useful orchid, apart from being decoration, is vanilla. It's an orchid. It's the only orchid that is also a vine. But then orchids are just, you see, the Indians. Let's begin with the Mayas. They knew a lot of the uses for plants. There is no record of ever having used an orchid for medicine. They use, kids use orchid bulbs, some species, for glue, for schoolwork. They break a bulb and it's sticky as hell. And they use it in certain places for glue. But that's the only thing I know.
These are all miniature orchids, and they haven't been cultivated that way. That's just what they are. They happen to be small ones. Now there's a very large one you see up in there. If I can, I'll try to get in here and show you some very small ones. Here are some here. This in the center, the very small orchid. Now remember that most of these are different from all the rest that you see here. And some of them are extremely tiny. Here's my finger. This will give you an idea of the size of that orchid. Maybe. Very, very small. Extremely small. Okay, here's another one here, see? Okay. We're still looking at the miniature ones, although this one's quite large. We move further down. Here's a pretty one underneath here. I'm putting my finger in here so you'll have some sense of perspective. Notice these look like the beak of a bird. Even more pronounced over here. And here, look at the ragged tongue of maybe some kind of a bird or animal, but it's just a real tiny little orchid. Somewhat larger one. And here also. This is a small stream with just a little bit of water. creeping down through it in the middle of a Guatemala forest. You can see that it's quite dense. This is not, I believe, a rainforest, although it is probably a temperate type of what we think of as jungle on one of the definitions, although jungle is more correctly defined as a rainforest. But typified by the mosses, very humid, lots of varied vegetation, downed, fallen trees in the state of rot, very similar to what I encountered in the whole rainforest of western Washington on the coast. But you'll notice that these trees have considerable vegetation and branches, starting all the way from the ground floor through the middle story up to a high story area that's still very much open. Whereas in the true rainforest jungle, this middle story would be basically wide open without much in the way of vegetation, since the vegetation would be predominantly on the top high story and block out all of the light. And only those plants that could survive the dim lighting below would form the foliage on the ground. Great deal of plant material here that, because of the water, is in a constant state, I'm sure, of being decomposed. You'll notice as I pan around, there's fairly decent foliage all the way through this area, and a great deal of light. Notice the trees that have moss growing on them. Presumably there's some orchids there. Some of this moss may live solely on the tree, pulling its moisture out of the air. That may be, I don't know, I'm not knowledgeable, that may be an orchid sitting on that tree, those little jobbies that you see right there and there. And I don't know that for sure. And there are also the vines that you see here, using the tree as its base for climbing high. In the rainforest, this is done to the degree that they go to the top in order to get light at all, and in the process kill the tree that they're on. Well, I'm sure this is a very large tree that has fallen. What do you notice about the root system? Okay, two things you should notice: that it's very intricate, in other words, it weaves in and on upon itself, and it's also fairly shallow. In other words, it would look flat if we went around to the side here and could look at it. And that's probably because this is probably heavy volcanic rock mountain. There's a lot of soil that's being created by the jungle over the last few centuries, and what it tries to do is spread itself out, creating a base, if you will, for which the tree can be supported. But if something happens to the integrity of the soil, or wind blows substantially hard, or the tree dies, or blah blah blah, whatever, down she comes, part of the process. And some huge big trees these are. This one already broken off at the top. This is another very large tree, and I think it's pronounced Siu-wa liche. That's just a guess from a gringo. Notice the vines that completely wrap about this. The plant's growing right on the tree itself. And of course the mosses and so forth that abound, particularly on the upper story, where it gets access to mists and so forth. This is a quiet little falls right now because there's not much moisture on the land in the sense of rainfall. But I suspect that it's kind of fun to look at when it's been a torrential rain and it's coming down through here. particularly if you could get down below and get a look of what it's like going off of this. And I don't know where there is a place to do that, but it'd be an interesting view. And while we're up here, I'll just kind of pan so you have a little view of what the Guatemala mountains look like with cloudy, overcast skies. The same, almost the same degree of humidity in the air, it seems like. And this is something curious. I don't know what that is down there. It looks like something's been laid on the land, or it's been cultivated for a certain, very specific purpose, but I don't know what it is yet.